Hey, welcome to Teen Church Live. I'm really glad that you're here on the YouTube live stream with us today. Thanks for joining us. A couple of things I wanted to let you know before we got too far into our live stream today. First off, we're going to be looking at Luke chapter 15. So if you want to grab a device, grab a paper Bible, whatever it is you need to do, we'd love for you to follow along as we read through and study through Luke chapter 15 today. So make sure you have a Bible handy so you can look at that here in a little bit. The second thing is we're going to do something a little different with our game time today. We're still going to do it at the end, but you're going to need to have your phone available to text to be able to play in the game. We're going to ask one trivia question. Now, this is going to be a two-parter, and you have to get both parts correct to win. But we're going to ask one trivia question that's a two-parter. You're going to text your response to this number. So make sure you're ready. I'm going to repeat it before we play the game, but here's the number: 210-628-9790. That's 210-628-9790. The first correct response will win. And after the live stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the winner. I'm going to send you your prize. I'm going to give you a shout out on Instagram. But be looking for that first correct response that includes both parts of the trivia question gets a prize today. We're going to deliver a pizza to your house. So that'll be at the end of the service today. So make sure you stick around for that. Have your phones ready. 210-628-9790 is where you'll text your answer.
When my heart is weary, when my soul is weak, when it seems I can't traverse the trail before me, I survey the glory of your agony, and I find the will to fight for what's before me. 'Cause you ran the race, enduring for your glory, and I fix my eyes on you, the founder and the finisher of our faith. And I fix my eyes on you, the solace in your suffering is my strength. As I fight to follow, you're my righteous guide, and you train me to delight in all that's holy. Heal my broken body, cure my crooked stride, throw off every weight and sin that clings so closely. I will run the race, enduring for your glory, and I fix my eyes on you, the founder and the finisher of our faith. I fix my eyes on you, the solace in your suffering is my strength. You help me breathe, you're the only life I need. You died for me, you're the only life I need. You help me breathe, you're the only life I need. You died for me, you're the only life I need. So I fix my eyes on you, the founder and the finisher of our faith. I fix my eyes on you, the soul solace in your suffering is my strength.
Luke 15, verse 11 to 32, ESV version. And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that is coming to me. And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey to a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens in that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the ponds that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants to have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion. He ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his head and shoes on his feet. And bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and as he came and drew near the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends.
One of the biggest disruptions that I've experienced during this COVID-19 social distance isolation situation is the way it's changed my family dynamic. I love my family. In fact, there's probably no one in my life that I could love more than my wife and my kids. I would do anything in the world for them. But when you're in a house with the same people 24/7 and you can't even get out to go do normal things like grab a cup of coffee at your favorite local coffee shop, or to get out and grocery shop with any sort of like casualness to it, you can't have any sort of distancing. It can be pretty intense. And I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but I know that in my family, we've been disrupted by this. And family disruption is nothing new. There's a lot of things that can cause chaos in a family, and all throughout human history, whenever a difficult time has come up, whether that be a natural disaster or an illness situation, families get disrupted in the midst of that. Sometimes families cause their own disruption. And Jesus told a story in Luke chapter 15 about a family that caused their own disruption. We typically call this story the story of the prodigal son. Sometimes we call it the story of the lost son. But in this story, there's two children, two sons, And the younger one comes to his father and says, hey, I want my inheritance. I'm leaving. And that may not seem like a big deal to you, but in this culture, he's essentially saying, Dad, you're dead to me. I don't want any part of you anymore. I want your stuff and I'm leaving. And rather than holding it back or arguing with him or causing more drama and conflict and disruption in the family, the father gives him what he asked for. And as a parent, I can't imagine the amount of turmoil and anguish that a parent would go through when a kid says, you're dead to me. Like, I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. But this father hands over his inheritance and allows his younger son to leave. And this younger son goes off and he parties and he wastes his money and he lives extravagantly. My guess is that, he's out, all the time, just buying for all of his friends and spending all of his money. And things seem to be going along okay for this younger son who's told his father, you're dead to me, and taking this money. He seems to be doing okay until a famine hits. And when the famine hits, all of a sudden he's left with nothing. In fact, he has to get a job. Maybe this is the first job he's ever really had, but he goes and he works and he's feeding pigs and he looks at the food that the pigs are eating and he's so desperate and so hungry and so just at the end of his rope that he looks at the food they're feeding the pigs and he wants it because he's so hungry. And he realizes in that moment that even the people who work for his dad have it better off than this. And the thing he needs to do is he needs to go home and he needs to beg his father's forgiveness and just ask to be a servant. He doesn't even expect to be a son anymore. He just wants to be a servant at his dad's house because he knows that his dad treats his servants better than he's experiencing life right now. I don't know what exactly he expected to get. Maybe he thought his dad would be gracious and generous and give him a room and a job and 3 square meals a day. But when he gets home, there's a surprise. His dad doesn't just welcome him in. His dad's waiting for him. His dad's like on the front porch or in the front lawn and just hopefully looking out with the expectation that his son is going to return one day. And his dad runs out and greets him and puts a coat around him and gives him a ring and throws a big party for him. And the thing we're supposed to learn from the story of the younger son here, the son who left and wasted all of his resources, is that we were designed by God to experience good things, that God has created beautiful, good, abundant things for us, and that our life in God was meant to be a blessing to us and to others. But oftentimes, we take the good things that God has given us and we waste them. We squander them. We use them recklessly without concern for the long-term benefit or what God really designed them to be and to do. And yet, God, because He's generous and loving and kind, just creates more. This is a picture of what God's grace looks like, that when we waste the things God has given us and done for us, that God still loves us and still offers us life and love and generosity. But the story of the prodigal son isn't really about the younger son. See, Jesus is actually trying to talk about the fact that there are 2 lost sons in this story. And so I'm going to read from verses 25 through 30 of Luke 15. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. And the servant told him, your brother is back, and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, all of these years I have slaved for you. See how the older brother thinks about his position in life, how he thinks about his relationship with his dad? It's all transactional for him. He thinks that I'm just working hard for you and you don't even notice me. All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me. And in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet, when this son of yours, his younger brother, comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fatted calf. See, the younger son wasn't the only son who was lost. He was the son who left. He was the son who wasted all of his dad's resources. But this older son doesn't even know how good he has it. He doesn't understand the relationship, the things his dad is actually offering him and has done for him. He thinks he's a slave. And he doesn't know how to celebrate when something good happens in his life. And I wonder how many of us can relate to the older brother. Some of us are the younger brother. Some of us, when we look at this story, the younger brother who's wasteful and wants to leave home and doesn't want to be part of the family, we get that. Some of us, though, we feel like we've done all the right things and we still don't understand why God isn't blessing us. And we're missing the fact that God is right there with us, celebrating us, loving us, giving us good things, forgiving us, offering us grace and mercy. See, when Jesus is telling this story, he's actually telling it to a group of people who are a lot like the older brother. If you look back at the beginning of the chapter, verses 1 through 3 of Luke 15, tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to Jesus because he was teaching them. And this made the Pharisees, which are a group of religious leaders, and the teachers of religious law to complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus begins to tell stories, and he tells stories about people who lost things, and when they found them, they were excited. And the story of these two lost sons is one son who is lost and the father welcomes back, and another son looks at the forgiveness and the grace and the mercy offered by the father and doesn't even understand it. Because a lot of times religious people don't really understand Jesus. They don't really get Jesus. See, religious people tend to think that grace comes in a limited supply. And so when we experience disruption in our life, one of the things that it causes us to do is to stop looking for ways to take care of ourselves and to criticize other people and to cast dispersion on them and to look down on them, but instead look for ways to be more gracious, to be more understanding. I think one of the things that Christians would benefit from is trying to put ourselves in the place of other people that we encounter and think, what is life like for those people? How can I understand what they're going through? How can I learn to be more like God and offer grace and forgiveness in the midst of this disruption? Because as followers of Jesus, the way that we treat other people in moments like this, in moments of upheaval and change and disruption, when no one knows exactly how to handle things and how to respond, the way we behave in these moments defines how people are going to think about Jesus and what it means to follow Jesus and what it means to be a follower of God. And so my challenge for you this week is to think about relationships that you have where you've struggled being gracious, when you've not risen to the level of grace and forgiveness that God exemplifies for us, where you've been the older brother. And to think creatively and strategically about what it looks like to be the father in those moments, who welcomes people back, who is excited to celebrate the fact that they realize that they need Jesus. Maybe for some of you, you're the younger brother in the story and you need the grace, and that's okay too. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is to think about what it looks like to come back home, to be in relationship with the God who's standing there waiting, who wants to be in relationship with you.
Before I spoke You breathed your life in me. You have been so, so good to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Oh, I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Oh, I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no wall you won't, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no lie you won't take down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it, but still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Hey, I'm really glad you're here today for our live stream, but I'm also hopeful that you'll join us tonight for Connect. It's our small group program. We're doing it via Zoom, 5 p.m. If you need information about that, if you need the details to get connected to Zoom for Connect tonight, you can either email me, richard@chccsa.com, or you can text me at the number that we're going to use for the trivia game here in just a moment, 210-628 9790, and I'll get you connected with Connect tonight. So I hope you can do that. Also, we're going to use that number right now to play a little trivia game. Remember, after the live stream, I'll reach out to the winner, give you a shout out on Instagram, send you over your pizza for winning this. You're going to text your response, and you have to get both parts of the question correct. Text your response to 210-628-9790. And today's question is going to test your knowledge of obscure holidays and obscure parts of the Bible. Actually, I'm going to tell you the holiday, and you're going to find the parts of the Bible and the information from the Bible that you're going to need to respond to it. So April 19th, 2020, today is National Garlic Day. Garlic is mentioned one time in the Bible. You need to text me the book, chapter, and verse reference and tell me what country the garlic that's mentioned in this verse is from. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you at Connect tonight. Get those answers in, and we'll give you a shout out on Instagram if you win.